welcome to our 10 Minutes with interview segment, and today I am joined by Western Australian teacher Tess Hill. We are very privileged to have her here and have her share her wisdom with us, having been in this industry for quite a long time. Lots of different things that we can learn from her. So thank you for joining us, Tess. That is very kind of you. And I want to start with, when was your first piano lesson?
I had my first piano lesson when I was about age 6 years old, 6.5, in 1946, just after the war in England.
And who was your first teacher?
My first teacher was the lady across the road who just played the piano. She wasn't really a piano teacher, but my mum had got a piano. She had never learned, but my mum used to pick out hymns and things on the piano, and I used to see her do that. She'd never learned, never had a lesson, but I always wanted to get up there and do it too.
And do you have any favourite memories of your teachers?
I have lots of favourite memories, not of the first one, because I was only there with her for about a year. My next teacher was Mrs. Wilkins. She was my Sunday school teacher, and she was a lovely lady. In her own studio, I found her quite intimidating, because you walked into her front room and there was a big sepia photo of her in her cap and gown.
Very fancy.
Very fancy, and she was very proper. And I started doing music exams with her with the London College of Music. So I went right through to about grade 4 with her, doing one a year, as you do. But she was lovely. She was very good for me. She had a very high standard. She expected you to practice. I saw her in two viewpoints, really. I saw her as a Sunday school teacher, and then I saw her as my music teacher. So although we were very good friends at Sunday school, when she was my teacher, she was Mrs. Wilkins, and I did what she asked and this sort of thing. So yeah, I loved her very much. I was with her for quite a number of years, as you can imagine, from the beginner basically through to grade 4. And then of course I came out to Australia, and we were very fortunate. We lived in Bassendean, not far from the railway line, and lady over the back was a piano teacher. So Mum went round there and she saw a lovely polished brass plate outside the house, and it said Miss Joy Saunders with lots of letters after her name. So Mum knocked on the door and we asked, and she said yes, she'd teach me. Went to her, played to her, told her I'd done grade 4
ABRSM?
Or ABRSM. And she said, oh, my dear, she said, we'll need to go back to grade 3. So I thereupon did the right thing, did grade 3, grade 4, and went through with her to grade 7. But of course, 20 years went past because I became a school teacher. And I gave up my music at grade 7 level, and put everything I had into my school teaching. But I played for all the music in the school. Somebody else did my phys ed and nature study, which was science, which was not my forte in any way. I used to play for the dancing.
That's a happy trade, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It was a very happy trade, and we used music. I had lots of percussion. We'd done a lot of Carl Orff at Teachers College, so I was doing a lot of that at school. And then when I trained to do special ed, I did even more percussion and Carl Orff with them, not with reading, but just with listening. That's why I emphasise the oral and the listening program so much with beginner students, because of my experience with special ed kids. I got the dreaded ME when I was in my late 30s and had to give up school teaching, and that's when I decided to go back to music. When I had that ME, I was having a meeting with a music teacher who belonged to the Western Australian Music Teachers Association. Didn't know her. My husband was helping her husband, who was the Senior Master of Music at the school where he was the Senior Master of Art. And he was having a lot of problems. So my husband invited them for tea, and I got to know this music teacher quite well over the next 3 or 4 hours. So when I said I had to give up school teaching and I wanted to go music teaching, she said, oh, you might be interested in what's coming up only 10 minutes away from you. Next year, they're opening up the West Australian Academy of Performing Arts. And I said, oh, tell me more. And she said, well, when I get home tomorrow, I'll look at my newsletter, she said, and I'll ring you up and give you the phone call and tell you the name of the lady. So that was the beginning of the rest of my life. So she said, well, you'd better ring up Mrs. Stephanie Coleman. I said, oh, my sister's girls go there. So I rang her up, and Stephanie said, well, you'd best come for a lesson, my dear. So I did. And I can't believe when she asked me to play, I said, she said, bring your grade 7 music with you, what I'd had 20 years ago. So, and I'd kept playing Bach because I played that at church a bit. So I played a Bach Bourrée from the A minor suite. And I almost faint now when I think of how I played it with hardly any articulation and, any style. The notes were there, as Stephanie would have said. And then I passed the audition, which I was very grateful for. It was meant to happen. The good Lord had his hand on all those things, and it happened. It was part of the tapestry of my life as I look back.
It's very interesting, isn't it, how it comes from a conversation that you had around the dinner table, and how that changes the path and the course of your life. In retrospect, you can see those things, but it all starts with that conversation and connection that you had around the dinner table. That's really lovely. And are you doing any teaching anymore?
Yes, I'm still teaching teachers online at the moment, of course, like most people. One of my teachers has got COVID. She's just out of isolation, but we're doing work online now. My pedagogy involves very much my Christian worldview, which is that relationships are really important. So I have a relationship with somebody often for many years. Like one of my girls last year did her 18 months. That was Heather, like who you would know. And we have a good relationship. She's been coming to me for 10 years. So I know her family, she knows my husband, they've been here for coffee and this sort of thing. So that's important to me. And that's something I learned from Stephanie. Relationships are important. And I just, I do that. I like to get to know people. I interview people first. I don't take a lot of people because I mentor. I don't just teach, I mentor, which means I might be answering an email every day from one of my teachers. And it might be a teacher that I had 4 or 5 years ago who's now said, oh, I'm now teaching grade 5. Can I come and play, can you come and help me graduate from grade 4 to grade 5 teaching?
What advice would you have for new teachers?
There's lots of things. They need to develop their own philosophy of teaching, or I check with them, what is their philosophy of teaching? What do they believe about music teaching? What do they want to do? What's their aim in doing pedagogy, teaching skills, learning more teaching skills? And some of the things I suggest to them is that they join their local Music Teachers Association, W.A.M.T.A here, of course, and that they support them. They go along to lots of seminars and workshops, that they go online and do as many free workshops as they can. They may even want to join up with something like Blitz Books with Samantha Coates or Tim Topham's or Lisa Milne. Or even some people overseas like Nicola Canton, Irina Gorin, those sort of people. I say as soon as they come to me, look, I'm going to share with you what I do and how I do it. You may do it differently. At the end of this, I don't want to have a lot of little Tess Hills all over the place. I want the very best Heather Watson or Laura Kahar that can be. So try it my way first. If you've got other ideas, tell me, because I might want to use your idea. So I'm fairly upfront about what I suggest that they try, especially in the first 6 months. If we get through the first 3 months or 6 months, people are with me for basically the rest of their life. But if I'm not for them, it will show up within the first couple of sessions with them. So if they take my advice of joining up going online to some and doing some Zoom sessions and going to see other teachers and those sorts of things, then we're off and running. Does that answer that question?
Absolutely. And what are there any winner go-to resources for teachers that you would say, read this book or definitely do that? Something that you would suggest for teachers watching this now?
Well, I would suggest that they get on their mailing list of lots of people, particularly music publishers like Hal Leonard or Alfred's or Faber, Piano Adventures, some of the ones that have videos. But I do suggest that they join up on the website of Alyssa Milne, Samantha Coates, Tim Topham, all those sorts of people, because they can get a lot of help from those. But as well as that, I encourage them to have contact with people over in America and in England, like Nicola Canton and the Curious Piano Teachers, and Graham Fitch with practicing the piano. That's really good for people who are teaching 6th, 7th and 8th grade. I use that myself quite a lot. The first thing that Stephanie said to us in the very first lecture at W.A.P.A, and she was one of the foundation staff members, she walked, and she was responsible for teaching skills. She walked in and said, if you don't remember anything else I say today, remember this: teach the child to teach itself.
You're an inspiration, Tess.
Thank
I learn something every time I have a chat to you, and I know that you've made a big impact on teachers and piano teachers and how we teach in Australia, and that whenever I speak to one of your teachers who has studied with you, they have such effusive praise. And just such lovely things to say, because I think much to your maxim of teach the child to teach themselves, you teach teachers to teach themselves.
Absolutely.
And that's just glorious. I thoroughly encourage teachers to search out other interviews that you've done with the likes of Tim Topham and others that are all available, and just learn from your wisdom in this, because it's really beautiful to see someone who's creating community and supporting teachers to uplift the professional development of our profession. It's so important, and you're walking the walk when it comes to doing that.
I enjoy it every day.
Thank you so much, and we really appreciated you joining us for 10 minutes with today, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you for the opportunity, Carly. Thank you. Bye.